Welcome, everybody. This is the Lawyer Show podcast. I am your lawyer, Jeremy Rosenthal. Today is a very special day. I know I say that a lot, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. You have to look at my face to gauge the level of sincerity that I bring when I say whether or not it's special. Today is our first ever panel discussion. I've got three panelists, and today is going to be our law school extravaganza. I'm going to tell a story, just very briefly, about my evolution, I suppose, as a lawyer. That may, I don't know, it may explain things, it may not explain things about how life goes. Now, again, I'm a criminal lawyer. So all I do is criminal law, so my clients tend to have certain types of problems. Wasn't always a criminal lawyer. I started out and kind of did a handful of things. I actually had a client, a civil litigation client once, several years, actually not long after I left the DA's office. It was the first client that I ever had that died on me, You know, you guys get that, And my client unfortunately passed away, and I reached out to several other lawyers because I'd never had this happen, and it was, they all asked me the very same question. Well, why are you, why does this upset you? Why does this worry you? Why are you concerned? What issues could you possibly worry about surrounding your client's death? And all of them asked me, well, sounds like he owed you money, didn't he? So the point being is that I don't know. I think I had a soul at one point. I don't know. Maybe. I think I did. And I don't know at what point now when other younger lawyers come and tell me really problems such like that, and now my first instinct is to say, well, we can probate the estate and do it like this and, figure a way to get you paid, right? In other words, again, taking people's miseries, their suffering, all of the bad things in their life and turning it into a way that you can profit and maybe help them too. I mean, there's that, if you're into that sort of thing. But I'd like to introduce to everybody my panelists today that have very, very kindly agreed to come on the show. I'm going to introduce everybody very briefly, and then I'm going to let them kind of narrate their own curriculum vitae, biography, whatever we can call it, So we have Alex, right?
Yep. Right.
Christina, and we have Josh. So these are my co-counsel today. We can go ahead and say that you're not going to get in trouble by me saying that you're my co-counsel today, because this really isn't court. This is just sort of make-believe podcast land, and I promise you nobody important is watching. So we've got that going for us. But Alex, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name's Alex. I just graduated in May from UNT Dallas College of Law, cum laude, and I attended the evening program there, so started in 2017, and then I just took the bar on July 27th and 28th, and my brain is still very fried from that. So right after that, went to Bahamas with my wife, and just got back 2 days ago. So I'm both in vacation mode and fried brain mode. So.
Now, you sent me a detailed biography, which included a touch more than that.
Yeah. So during school, so I worked full time.
And we're going to have to work on this too. See, if you're going to practice law, okay, now there's certain benchmarks that you're going to have to sort of pay attention to. When you've been practicing for 20 years, you do a lot of name dropping.
Oh, okay.
And you got to be like, oh, I know Judge so-and-so and old such and so. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, you just kind of have to pretend and be like, oh, him.
Oh, him, yeah.
20, you got some time for that. But right now, you got to tell the planet how many push-ups you can do.
Okay.
So let's go ahead. We'll start. We'll start again. It's interesting that your personal facts are interesting, but let's hear about. I mean, because you've been, you've done a little bit, so let's have it.
Okay, so I work full time Went to school full time or part time in the evenings, and then during school, had two babies. My second year and third year, 2L and 3L. And actually, I delivered the first baby.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
on our bathroom floor. That's right. Yeah,
Oh,
we tried.
wow.
We tried for 27 hours to stay in the hospital, and they said no, you got to go home. Nothing's happening. And then within 30 minutes of getting home, I delivered a baby.
Congratulations.
Wow.
So I got
Fun
that on my
fact.
resume also.
Man, that's not bad. That's like real life-saving type stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
Problem solving.
Yeah, you're probably never
Yeah.
going to forget that, I'm guessing.
The best piece of advice during all that, when you call 911, unlock the front door first, and then do the rest. So.
Oh, did
yeah.
something happen to your
No,
door?
I did that. I unlocked the front door.
Oh,
So they
good.
were able to come straight into the bathroom.
Oh, good. Okay. Whew.
Well, nice work. Nice work. Okay, Christina, match that.
Oh, wow. I really don't think I can. That's pretty intense. I really don't know if I would have been able to make it through that.
I think
know.
you'd have
I
been,
don't know.
I think you'd have been fine. But,
I think we would see. We'd have to
so
see.
so tell us who you are, what you are, where you're from, and
Yeah.
that type of thing.
So on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Christina Veit. I am a rising 3L at Texas A&M School of Law. I actually transferred there, so I started my 2L year there. And my first year, I was actually at the University of Tulsa School of Law. I began in 2019. So, mid 1L year, important year. That's when COVID hits.
Mm-hmm.
That was really great. And then actually I have spent my entire 2L year online.
Okay.
But right now, so far, it looks good, I guess, because, I'm going to class on Monday. So I'll be in person, and then from then on out, we're going to be in person in school. Hope that stays that way, obviously barring that everything stays safe, because that's obviously priority.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested in criminal law, criminal defense strictly.
This scores you a lot of points here.
Well, yeah.
That's
That's how we met.
This is true. You were an intern for Elise Ferguson, who does Collin County's mental health.
yes,
Right.
And indigent defense,
Very
managed
good.
cancel. She kind of, she runs that show.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. pretty
I
much.
would guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
very much so. And I've always been criminal defense. Well, I've always kind of been interested in criminal law, and then was always kind of criminal defense minded, and then really getting into law school.
Do you have a favorite crime?
A favorite crime?
A favorite one, yeah. Another thing I should tell everybody at home was I didn't really, normally I prepare, we kind of do outlines with some of the guests. We talk about bankruptcy law. Last week we had bankruptcy lawyer. We had a copyright trademark lawyer. These are things where we can kind of talk about issues. I promised them that I would be pulling the pin from hand grenades and just rolling it under the tent at them. So what's your favorite crime? You're not off the hook yet.
Okay,
And if you have more than one, that's fine too.
okay. I'll say this first, that at least my favorite thing about crimes in general is that really, truly, I would say, I'm going to say 90% of the time. In my experience, it's really been like 99.9% of the time, but
Okay.
I'm sure as I go on, it'll probably become less. But every single person really does something that I'm just like, oh my God. Like, there's just some element of it that it's like, why did you have to do that? And it's like that one thing that just made it, like, that made it worse for you. Or like that's
getting
what
caught,
really-
is that the one?
kind of, or just saying, oh my God, talking too much.
That happens.
I would say, and leading into the talking too much, I'd probably say it's a DWI would be my favorite.
They're a lot of fun. Well, we'll get more into that. We'll get more. They're not a lot of fun, like
Not
to
the
get them or to be
ones-
like hit by one, but they're a lot of fun for like the
Right.
lawyer to try.
And
I'm
it's
with
more,
you.
and I'm talking, the DWIs that are, somebody maybe swerved a little bit. They didn't stop at a stop sign. Kind of that's why they get pulled over, and then we figure out this is a DWI situation, not like a crash situation that leads into this. But
So hearkening back to my law school experience, my 2L year, we learned a phrase for situations like this, and that was a bullshit stop.
Right.
It's in the restatement second of how we do things around here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah.
Well, very good. You're in the lead wanting to do criminal defense because
Thanks.
that's the highest calling and the quickest way to heaven. There's just no question. So let's hear about
100%.
you, Josh. Let's tell us about yourself.
Alrighty, I'm Joshua Green. I'm 34 years old. I consider myself from the Wichita Falls area in Texas. It's about 2 hours north of here. I am a rising 3L as well at Texas A&M, as is Christina. I transferred initially from Texas Tech out in Lubbock, which is where I spent my first year. Great school. Transferred back to Texas A&M for several reasons, but I'm so glad to have been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's where I end up wanting to practice when I'm done. As far as prior to law school, I joined the Air Force at 17. Deployed to Iraq in 2005 for about 6 months, and then to Afghanistan 2008 for about a year. Then after I got out of active duty, I went and worked as an IT engineer for a defense contractor, and then worked as an IT engineer for the Department of Defense, and then the NSA down in San Antonio. All of that while I was still doing the Air Force Reserves. And then I decided I didn't have any of that purpose or sense of passion that I needed in life. I could have just rode out my career, I guess, for the rest of my life, but I was just miserable. I guess you could say I had.
I want you to be honest about this. I feel like you're guarding your emotions for us, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna shoot you straight. So yeah, I was just completely unhappy, and decided I needed to figure out what my passions were in life. And as cliche as it sounds, I enjoy helping people. And I initially wanted to enjoy science and learning, so I wanted to be a doctor. Went back to school to be a doctor, got my degree in biomedical engineering from the University of Texas, Dallas. Worked in some research labs while I was there. Started developing symptoms of like a panic attack that I realized down the road after going to see the VA counselor that it was PTSD symptoms. And so I realized, amongst other things, that the better way I could help people on a grander scale was through law. I got introduced to, while working at the Veterans Center at the University of Texas, Dallas. I was a veteran outreach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I worked there, and then and as I was doing that, I worked in I was hosting an employer fair. Stumbled across some people who are like, "What do you want to do with your engineering degree?" They're like, "There's fields of law that you can do that only certain degrees can do, i.e., patent law." And so that's kind of what got me down that path again, because the last time I wanted to be a lawyer was like in 2008 when the recession happened. All my friends back then were like, "Don't be a lawyer now, because it's a bad time." So I decided to go to pursue that path. I got hooked up with the Innocence Project of Texas, worked there, and that was really what solidified my desire to be an attorney. I really enjoyed that. I've just told I worked with Natalie. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She was a co-founder of the Innocence Project of Texas, but I worked there, and then decided that was the path for me. Took the test, and the rest is history. Went to Texas Tech, and I don't know if we're gonna talk about this later, but I went to a social event, and that's kind of how I met an attorney from the firm that I'm going to be working for, ideally when I graduate, which is Haynes and Boone in Dallas. And I met them at a networking event my first semester. So so that's kind of where I'll start off. If you have questions, I'll go from there.
Man, see, this is excellent, and I want you to notice too, you do an excellent power V.
Do I?
With your hands? Yes,
that's kind of like I don't know what to do with my
that's
hands.
great. So we need to show everybody at home what the power V is. This is a very good, yes, there you go. They taught me that when I was a prosecutor. They said you need to, when you sit at counsel table, they said you need to do so maybe that's just like instinctive.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure when you were a clerk at Haynes and Boone, I'm sure that they were like, yes, he's got it. What are they going
Mannerisms.
What are they going to have you do over there, do you think?
So
I can make big firm jokes. I won't.
go for it.
Well, they're a lot bigger than me, and well, whatever. This is free. Okay, what are they gonna? You're not gonna be doing like people's laundry and cleaning their car.
No,
We've heard stories about
Really?
big.
So
It's been a while since I was that young and out of law school. But what practice area will they have you go to?
Well, to be honest, I didn't even know what big law was. I wasn't even really I wasn't familiar with law firms and all that. The only thing I knew was I wanted to do the innocence type stuff. And then, like I said, that landed in my lap from taking an opportunity at a networking event. All that to say, I was initially hired my first summer. I got a return offer my second summer, and I was working in the intellectual property department, doing patent law. And so that's where the offer I received was working as an associate in the intellectual property department.
Man, that's because and people may not know this. We've had We've had one intellectual property lawyer on the show before. His name is James Gorley. So we've talked about that. And as a refresher for anybody watching who's not a lawyer, you can patent law is the only area of law that you have to have an applied science or technical background to sit for the patent bar or to practice patent law. So it's very specialized, and that's very, very hard to do. So kudos to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you. Aren't you? I thought I saw that you were your Army veteran.
Man, well, yes, I am. I served in the U.S. Army. I kept the haircut.
Yes, it looks good.
Which is about all that I kept from the armies, but yes.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, you're welcome. You served in actual like wartime. You've ever seen the Army commercials? You guys, well, you may not be, but they're a bit of an age gap. They used to have a commercial that said, "We do more by 8 a.m. than most people do for a day." Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't, but
I don't know.
Well, they used to have a commercial that says, "We do more by 8 a.m. than most people do in a day."
It was when we were a little bit younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also 34. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
when I was in the
yeah.
when I was in the Army, they had to change that to "We do more by 3 p.m." than most people do it. I was in a time of budget cuts and all that good stuff. Okay, so Alex, let's go back to you.
All right.
Okay.
Burglary. That's my favorite crime.
Really? Okay. What's your favorite part about it? No, you don't have to tell me. Why don't you scare our friends about the bar exam and how fun
it's
that
awful.
how
Yeah.
fun that was? No, I want you to really.
No, it's leading up to it is the worst. And then,
Okay.
So I did Themis. I decided to do the Themis Texas Bar Prep. And
I've never heard. Well, they had Barbary when I was there.
Barbie's still
same
the
thing.
popular one. So my school, they started the year after I started in 2017, including Barbary as part of your tuition, so that when you graduate, you don't have to pay anything. It didn't happen for me. And
Okay.
Themis was cheaper.
So everybody, and so I always kind of have to. I always dial it back because many of our lawyers never actually studied law who watch. They know who they are. Some of whom, and some people, in case they're not lawyers. So what happens is you finish law school, and that's all good and fun. And you have theoretical debates on whether the tax code has a soul, right? You know, are they still quartering British soldiers in my house? You debate these types of. At Baylor, you learn how to do the 2-hole punch, and clean the photocopier. But what happens is there's a gap, right? You can take the bar twice a year. Is that still
That's
the
right.
case?
Yeah,
I think
February and
it's-
July.
I think it's more. Is it not?
Do they
They
have-
were
three?
last year.
They
They were
wanna
doing so
extend
during the pandemic because they had to spread it out more. They couldn't have everyone packed in this convention center like they did
Okay.
for us in July. They had another one in September and October, but now I mean the normal is one in February and one in July.
It's really
Oh.
hard to play mind games with other people when you're that spaced out. Do you
It is.
find that?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
funny.
So, but Barbary or would you? It was Themis?
So I did Themis. Yeah.
Themis. Okay, so
Yeah.
so you there's like you graduate from law school, for instance, in May,
May 22nd.
but then the bar's not till July, and so those 2-3 months you suffer more by taking and paying money for
yeah.
an additional class that's just kind of a cram
It's-
review. But go
yeah.
ahead.
So it's a full 8 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
and if you follow the schedule and you complete it, so I started 2 weeks early. You're allowed to begin, ahead of time, or you can follow the schedule. It starts May 17th, and yeah, since I'm working full time, I had to get a head start. I would stop working at about 3:30 every day, and then study until about 10:30 or 11. And Yeah, it was miserable. It's the worst. I actually completed 100% of the bar review course, which is more than normal. I think the goal is to complete 75% of the course, and if you complete 75%, you have about an 80% chance of passing the bar.
Well, another thing too is that the bar exam it's on a bell curve, right? I don't know if it's on a bell curve, but it's graded on a curve.
And
have
people were
no
talking about
idea.
that there's some kind of curve, and
Yes,
that if you
is my
don't do
understanding.
as well on the essay, but you do really well on the the multiple choice section the
Right.
second day, then it can actually add points to your essay
Yeah, I don't know.
score or something, or maybe curve it up somehow. And some people were talking about it. It didn't make sense to me.
So-
It's math. I'm a lawyer.
When I took
Right.
it, my understanding was that you could have basically. My understanding of the bar exam was this: that you have you don't have to beat the test; you just have to beat 3 out of the 10 people in the room.
That's right.
So like law school?
Well, yeah. So it's
Well, sort of, but you can't. It's harder to sabotage other people.
It's 67% is the
True.
goal. If you can hit 67%, that's passing. So that's a 4 out of 6 on every essay, average 4 out of 6 on the 6 essays, the 2 MPT, the performance tests, and then 67% of the 200 multiple choice questions. And then you're guaranteed to pass at that point
Okay,
if you can hit that target.
but you're trying to tell us that this was an unpleasant experience.
Oh, it was awful.
Okay.
It was the
And
worst.
Now I enjoyed not knowing the result for 4 months.
Did you?
That's me.
It takes 4 months to find out.
Yeah, you don't find out till
Yeah,
October.
I
I took
asked
it in-
him mid-October.
Really?
I was like,
See,
oh my
now
god.
this is new.
This is
mid-October.
Mid-October. See, this is inexcusable. See, because I took it in 2001, and it took 4 months. But you would think that they could find a better. Of course, they're grading things on a curve now. And don't worry, the people who are grading your tests are the people who can't practice law. Okay,
I thought it was lawyers that were grading it.
I'm sure it is, but
But they're
I
not
mean,
practicing.
like,
They're grading tests.
you know, I mean, okay, so when you're
Wow.
another harken back, okay, when you're a big shot lawyer, because I know some, I'm going to drop their names. I'm not one of them myself, but when you're a big shot lawyer, you don't have time to grade here, have 75 tests to, no, thank you. I mean, no, we're not doing that. Anyway,
I'm hole punching and I'm
your whole
cleaning
well, the Baylor,
photos.
talk to the Baylor. They're special. They're special kids. Just talk to them. Okay, so transferring law schools.
Transferring law schools.
Transferring law schools. Now, okay, so your 1L year was COVID,
Yes.
right? So
The
why don't
second
you-
semester.
take us through that.
Wow. Well, so, I mean, I don't even, it's like, okay, so it's just things were operating as normal. And it was kind of a bummer because, first semester of 1L year is just, you're lost. I mean, you're like, what? I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. Like, what is this? What am I reading? The words that I'm saying, do they make sense? Are they right? You know what I mean? But honestly, by the second semester, you kind of get into your groove a little bit. You kind of can gain or gauge, gain confidence or gauge where you're at in terms of your grades after that first finals. You get, your first notch in your belt. So going through that, it was like, wow, I'm kind of doing all right here. And then all of a sudden it was actually, fun fact. So one of the first cases in the U.S. was a preacher, I think, actually in Oklahoma.
Just so you know, I've been after Alex's rendition of how
Tulsa,
the bar
maybe?
exam is. I'm very excited to hear a fun story or good news.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what it was, and he had traveled, I guess, and he was symptomatic. I actually heard that he ended up going to dinner with a entire group of 8 elderly people. So that actually didn't end up turning out very well. So we
I
were
thought
kind
this
of.
was going to be a good story.
Oh,
a fun
sorry.
Story.
Oh, this wasn't really that. Oh,
I mean,
no,
if it's
this is.
if it's
oh,
possible
this
to
is just
be more
like.
of a downer than the bar exam story, then
Well, this is, and so
we're
really
on
what
that
happened
trajectory,
is
but go ahead.
true. Well, anyways, I was more saying this is. I think it really where I was at is when COVID really began, I think, in the US, or at least, that we had known about, we were finding out about. So we were notified, the school lets us know, hey, we're monitoring this, we're making sure, whatnot. I think a few days later, all of a sudden we get an email, all classes are canceled, we are socially distancing. That was the first time I remember I ever heard the word socially distancing. And every single one of us, we had no idea what was going on. And every single one of us was like, what a stupid word. What does that even mean? Like, socially distance, because that doesn't even make sense. If something's going on, why are we social or whatever? And
this is the problem, with lawyers and law students, is we take words and we just analyze them until they're no fun.
Right. I know. And I was like, and we were just like, what is going on? And we didn't understand the significance of it, but it was because a TU football player's sister had just tested positive for COVID, and they lived together in the same house, and he was all up at school and hanging out with people, and we're all on one campus. It's not too big of a school either, so we go
You're
into
talking about UT?
No, University of
Tulsa.
Tulsa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That
no,
was an
we
A&M thing.
Yeah.
But good call. Good
Oh
catch.
yeah. So
good catch.
excuse me. And so and so all of a sudden we were like online for school, and they're like, we'll be back in like 3 weeks. And it was actually
Was it not 3 weeks? No. Did it turn out longer?
Oh, yeah.
a little longer,
Okay.
just a little.
So you're trapped in your dorm or apartment in Tulsa.
Sort
That
of.
sounds like fun, too.
Well, so they shut down school, but they hadn't shut down anything else. Masks hadn't yet become a thing. Nothing was happening other than the fact that the school just shuts down and goes online. And turns out, they had been working on Zoom and getting Zoom started this entire time and had been preparing for that. So that was interesting too. And so, we just did class as normal. And then it was 2 days before spring break.
Yeah, the spring break that still hasn't really ended.
Yep.
Right.
In many ways. And you haven't been back to class since.
Actually,
Or have you?
So I
Yes, no.
started off my 2L year at A&M actually in person, because I was, I had experienced one semester of online law classes, and it's not ideal. That's not how law school should be done at all. No way. And so I really wanted to, but first of all, I also have asthma. So that makes me of a higher risk. I didn't want to, deal with that. But actually, in-person class was not good. It was actually pretty awful. It really was, because, first of all, we all have, we're all sitting 6 feet, masked the whole time. You have to ask, and so now you're all spread out. Now, when you didn't have to sit all the way in the back of a room, now you have to. Your professor's behind a plexiglass, and then they're allowing people to do, so it was hybrid. They're allowing people to be remote. So it goes a little something like this. Okay, class, I'm speaking to the class, we're doing this. This is what happened. Cold call somebody. John, hey, could you tell us, what this case was about? They're in person. Now there's people remote who we can't hear what you just said. So then it goes something like this. Okay,
But that's probably just as well.
Everybody on Zoom, so-and-so just said, it's a massive waste of time. And you're just like, then what's the difference? At that point, it was like, I'm not going to
Speaking
risk.
to the mic, I can't hear.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Oh
There you go.
gosh. And then you're also speaking through masks on a camera already through that. And so at that point, it was just like, there's no point in... I guess when it was a matter of safety, and when it was honestly just kind of, I didn't see a difference in the quality. I thought the quality of my learning would be better if I went in person, and it truly wasn't. Actually, this is what they did. So 1Ls, they really prioritized getting all of them in class,
Okay.
which was good. But what they had to do, that's 60 people in a class. So we're right next to the Sheraton. They rented out a ballroom and spread 60 people out in this massive ballroom. The professor's using a projector. Students on Zoom are up on there. You know, all of the slides are like up on the screen. And then there's little mics hanging down every so often. You know how like ballrooms are. The professor's on a mic. And so and I was in that class because this was actually a class that A&M requires, which is legislation and regulation. They're kind of unique in that that's one of their 1L course loads that they require. So I was taking a 1L class. You were also? Yeah. Oh, God, that's right. We did talk about that because that final was horrible. Wow. Yeah. Anyways, so we...
By the way, anybody watching who's not a lawyer is definitely not going to law school after listening to this uplifting talk.
I would say that if
I loved Zoom school.
I would say, it wasn't for me, man. I just
Had two
can't.
kids at home.
Josh,
Oh, see that?
what?
Didn't have to drive downtown.
I mean, weigh in here. What'd you think about?
We were in the same class, right?
Just as far as my whole experience.
Well, yeah. As far as like when things went online, how was that relative to being in person?
Yeah. So at Texas Tech, which is where I spent my first year, they have a really big familial type environment.
They're all there in like one building. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
case at. I don't know if that's the case at A&M.
Yeah, A&M is in like I don't know how you would call it. It's just it's a 3-story building, but it's like a commuter school. That's how I look at it. And it's not,
Yeah.
it's just like a big square. Like you walk around the outside and in the middle is like a conference room. And then on the other floor, it's a library. But
That's interesting.
I haven't been to A&M while COVID's not there, but I would say that the social component of it is not even close to what it was at Texas Tech.
I would agree with that.
And so Texas Tech, my first year, we would have events every day.
Very much so.
They put us in our sections, which again, I saw that they did that at Texas A&M. So you got to really, we would all have our own group me chats and stuff, and got to really get to know your other classmates, these other 50 people that you're going to go through the whole first year of your law school with, and you're all going to embrace the suck, and you're going to complain to each other. You're going to find little cliques, and you're going to, become friends. You're going to go out at night. Sometimes, responsibly, make sure you're placing your academics first. And also too, there's a lot of networking.
That didn't
events.
happen at Tulsa, I'm guessing. But go ahead, keep going.
Well, yeah. So, so the networking aspect of being in person, my 1L year, I think was invaluable. And from what I've been told from a lot of the attorneys that I've done the summer internships with, is they said, a couple of the things that I wish I would have known, and a biggest one is that they wish they would have had a better relationship with their fellow students, because those are going to be the people that you're going to end up that you're going to be needing in the future, that you're going to be calling on, that are going to be bringing you business and all that. And so I feel like my 1L year in person, I was able to establish these relationships and not just do it to where people know you want to do it fake. You got to be genuine about establishing these relationships, and so I felt like I was able to do that. And, again, we had pizza every single day. You get tired of pizza. Free food, events, student organizations.
I never get tired of pizza.
I know, when I found out about COVID, we had all had a softball tournament for all of our law school students. We did volleyball together.
And this was at Tech.
This was at Tech, and I remember we all got the email and it was like, oh, it looks like the spring breaks got extended by a week. Our criminal law professor's like, don't worry, we'll be back in in 3 weeks from that time. And of course we never went back. But switching from that, that's how I got my offer, was from a networking event in December. And they had sent out a lot of these networking opportunities to be in person. And again, you can't really replicate, in my opinion, in person versus virtual. The firm that I was at, they did a very good job of doing that. I found some of the perks were that you were able to connect with people across the world that you normally wouldn't be able to connect with. So that was nice. But the transition, at least going to A&M, I would just say the networking component was the biggest challenge. As far as I would say one of the biggest downsides, as far as academically, I do struggle. I feel like just online classes in general, it takes somebody who's very dedicated, and you got to be very focused. And I found out not too long ago that I have ADD, right? Which I've wondered why I can't. It takes me a little bit longer to focus. And so when I'm having all these at-home distractions, people walking around, dogs coming in, and you try as much as you can to isolate yourself to make sure there's no distractions. But I would, going online is difficult, but at the same time, it also gives you freedoms that you didn't have, So I feel like there's good things that can be taken from it. There's some negatives from it. Texas A&M, again, was really big on, they really want you to have that in-person experience because they think that you can't really have a good law school education without being in person. So they did a good job of making as many classes in person as possible. I don't know if that answered your question originally, but I see pros and cons to both. I like some aspects of learning online, kind of the flexibility and all that. However, just for me, like focus-wise, I prefer being in class. As far in the exams too, I actually feel like I've done better. I don't know. I think I've done better since COVID happened with exams, but that's only because a lot of them have made the exams open notes and open book because it's hard to like do a lot of the proctoring. And so the exams have changed.
They just said, you know what, go ahead. You're going to whip the books out anyway. We can't watch you. You may as well.
Yeah. And I feel like
make it harder.
You may as well go to town. Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of either disadvantages people. Right. So I feel like there's an advantage and disadvantage because there's people who do really well on timed exams and people who don't. Like I'm not good at timed exams, and then people who and then it gives you the time, like 8 hours, for instance, on an exam that normally you would get like 2 hours on, and it's open book now. So I don't know. So some people find that good, some people find it bad. For me, it advantaged me just because it takes me a little bit longer to read through questions and stuff, and so that's I think there's hope. If you want to go to law school, there's a lot of upsides.
Yes.
If we get like a Delta variant and then an Echo variant and then I'm using the phonetic Foxtrot variant and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Army's
that.
coming out.
If we can keep this going and
All the way to Zulu, man.
there you go.
Oh,
there it
wow.
is. Okay, so
I have
back
so
to you.
many.
Back to you, Alex. Okay, so you were saying that you were saying that bar exam bad,
Bar exam
online
bad.
classes good.
Good. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and now she's taking exception to that, or she disagrees with that. But why did you find them positive?
So 2019, I started working for Rackspace, and this company was trying to recruit me because they were trying to go public, and the guy that worked there, he knew my old boss, and so he kept calling, asking me, okay, what if we do this? And I was like, nah, I'm not really interested. I was working for Match Group at the time, reporting directly to the general counsel. I was like, look, I'm right now near downtown, and I don't want to move. I think I have a legal job lined up here afterwards. Then he said, well, what if we work from home? Would you want to do that? And I said, okay, now we're talking.
Okay.
So I just had a baby, had another one on the way, working from home.
We know how that one wound up
Yep.
too.
Yep.
All right.
So the second baby on the way, I said, yeah, working from home is great. I'd like to do that. So I converted that front room in my house to an office from a dining room, put a door on it, and also got from a lawyer downtown. He was selling or getting rid of his furniture, so I got a huge desk and credenza and all this really nice stuff. So I had a nice office, and then when we went online, it was great. I just closed the doors. I was, online. I could, to your point, yeah, if you have distractions, it's miserable. But I didn't have that because I could close the doors and have some privacy, actually focus and pay attention. So it worked really well for me.
So Christina, did you go straight from undergraduate to law school?
I did not. I took a gap year.
You took a gap year.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking what happened? What did you do in your gap year?
So I worked actually, and I didn't work as actually anything legal. I actually bartended and served, but that was literally just to save money, like save up money in the interim and get myself at least some good cushion of my own money, going into law school, which I did, and that was a good thing. It was very unintentional, and there were a lot of things that happened that I didn't plan on, and I wasn't planning on taking a gap year, but I think it was a good thing for me because I really did. It was nice to have just that break of, instead of, you were already doing school for 12 years, and then now you just did 4 more if you went to undergrad, right? So what, you're in school for that 16 years straight or whatever, you know, and now you're about to be in something, you know, that's as rigorous as law school for 3. You know, I think it's valuable, I think, for some people to take a break. I know people who went straight in, and I think it works just depending on.
So
I don't think
Heidi,
either is bad.
Yeah, Heidi knows this about me, and she knows what I'm about to kind of talk about. Some of the most influential days of my life I spent being a waiter at Chili's. And
It changes you.
Love Chili's. Love it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
It's also.
yeah, you know, chips and hot sauce, fajitas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
they're everything.
yeah, I mean, you get to. I bust tables, right? And this is what I didn't take a gap year. Probably had I taken, my concern was had I not taken a year in between, or had I not gone directly into law school. My guess is that right now I would be on a used car lot, which practicing criminal law is really not all that different. It's just you're peddling
Kind of
different
agree.
cars and in different ways. But the experience that you get from doing that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
in
You get to know people, or you meet and just learn so many.
Oh yeah,
people.
real life stories, real life experiences.
yeah.
Mean, now again, it's not like selling insurance. That's again, now I say that doing criminal law is going to get you to heaven faster. In reality, it's going to be defending insurance companies. Those are the lawyers who have a pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's just, you know, you're just you're just right there. So some of the other topics that I had kind of jotted down here that I wanted to sort of surprise you with, or I don't know that any of this is going to be that way, but I had a friend of mine, a lawyer friend of mine, who texted me just this morning, that he finished off paying his student loans.
Wow.
Are any of you guys on student loans?
Big time.
I did, but talk about that.
Well, so UNT Dallas College of Law, the big draw for me was number 1, evening program. Number 2, $5,000 a semester. So, yeah, paid that out of pocket.
You're not getting that right now? Well, A&M is a public school.
I was gonna say, what I've actually had though is not bad. Actually, Tulsa was very good price, I think. I mean, their tuition, I think, was...
Is Tulsa private? Tulsa's private.
Yeah, but for a private law school, I think it was only like $25,000 a year or something for a private law school.
Only?
Well, I know,
Well,
right? But I mean, oh my
compared,
God,
yeah.
you know, I actually worked with somebody who went to SMU, and those prices made my chest hurt because, you know, and A&M is a little bit more expensive, but it's really not it's really not insane. But am I going to come out with some big numbers? Yeah, I am.
Josh, student loans?
Yeah, I have student loans, but I don't know. So I joined the military, right? I used some of my federal benefits for my engineering degree. And then because I was a Texas veteran, I got the Hazelwood exemption. And so if I chose to go to a state school, a Texas state school, they would cover me 150 hours of tuition exemption. So that was the
That
motivation.
gets you almost home. I mean, how many hours is...
It's 90. So
90? Okay.
So it covers most everything except a couple $100. It's the loans of living, cost of living. So again,
That's what
since
it is.
I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and a life before I went back to school. And so, you know, a lot of those bills, I did my best to get it as minimal as possible. But I still have bills from then, and you know, just living expenses now. And so that's what most of my student loans come from.
Okay.
You know?
That's the killer, I think, is the fact that, you know, I mean, 90 hours, if you think about it, I guess, in terms of undergraduate, which is what 120 at least, you know, doesn't seem bad, but, you know, you're trying to get that done in 3 years. And for me, I never wanted to take summer classes. In fact, I never once have, because I wanted to spend that time fully working. For me, and actually in a way kind of my mental health. Like I need that to get away from school and to actually go out there and be like, oh yeah, this is why I'm, going through law school and studying this hard. I have to be reminded of that. So I have to take a full, course load semester. I'm taking 16 hours every semester. So I have zero time really, to me, at least for me, and for me to succeed in law school personally, I really couldn't have that balance of working and adding work into that. I did try. And it was too much. And so I do very much have to rely on the extra loans for simply cost of living.
Alex, how many highlighter pens did you have first year, and did you have all the different colors?
I'm not a highlighter.
You're not a highlighter.
No,
How
I
about you
tried.
guys?
Oh, I had, and I still do, of highlighters, of pens, of marker pens. It's a bag like this big.
I
of
took a
different
highlighter into the
colors.
bar exam.
Did
and
you?
Yeah.
I highlighted one line on the morning session, the MPT, and then I didn't know really why I did it. And so I just kind of set it down. I'm like, what am I doing? This is not what I usually do. And went back to just reading.
Do you have a favorite rule of evidence?
Oh, evidence. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be relevant, man.
It's got to be sure. There you go.
It's the first. It's got to be relevant.
That's that. There you go. How about you guys? What?
Rules of evidence.
It doesn't have to be rules of evidence, Josh. I mean, I with your engineering and your biochemistry,
Biomedical engineering.
that
one.
with that background, I mean, I'm expecting a little more out of this. But do you have a favorite statute, a favorite code, a favorite? How about this? A favorite class that you've taken so far?
Favorite class. So originally my 1L year actually said it was contracts, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy."
You know what? I said that too.
Because I didn't realize how.
You guys are crazy.
It was my
people.
professor. That was
Yeah.
the only
I was a
reason
torts
why.
guy.
You
That
were a
was the-
torts guy.
Yeah.
Paul's graph.
Well, yeah.
Look
so
at
the
that.
train station, right?
There you go. No
Leonard
duty.
Is it
Hand.
proximate?
There you go. Okay. Contracts was. You guys were out on a limb by saying contracts was your favorite.
Solely because of my professor, though, honestly.
It was your favorite because or did you not like it because?
Well,
of the
I
professor?
really did like it, but I think that how good he was. My professor was the former treasurer of Oklahoma, and he was like just this amazingly brilliant man, and really truly made contracts so interesting because of how deep he could get into it. And I was like, this is cool. I was like, all these different ways, and like I'd go talk to him in office hours. He made it cool for me, and then that very quickly faded though.
Oh, because it's contracts.
I think as soon as I left his presence, I
Once it
decided
applied.
that contracts I was like, what was I talking about?
So Josh, you said
know.
contracts.
Yeah, and it was mostly because I didn't realize like how many things throughout your life that you don't realize you're making a contract, and like that could be an enforceable or a contract. So
You're gonna
that
sell
was-
me that lawnmower for $50.
Yeah, it was fascinating, and made me think, to be really careful of what I say.
You still owe that duty. Even
Right.
when you're selling it, you owe a duty. So torts, I mean,
There you go. So
Back.
torts was your favorite.
yeah.
You would
Okay.
do
It was that 1L year first semester. I mean, so the professor I had, he was Jamaican.
Okay.
He sounded like Sebastian from Little Mermaid.
great.
The little crab.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
Said like somebody who has 2 children. Yes.
they haven't seen it. Well, maybe they have seen it now. But yeah, that's why.
Okay.
Because of the 2 girls, Little Mermaid. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and that's the one class I got an A+ in that class. I was like, oh my God,
I'm going to go handle some truck accidents. Let's go.
Right.
And it was fun. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Then you learned about tort reform and how the insurance companies.
Well, so that was torts 1. So they split
Oh,
torts 1 and
okay,
2.
yeah,
so
they-
2 was negligence.
that
that was not as fun.
And 3 was damage caps, and
Yeah, there
there's
you go.
nothing here for you anymore. Okay, it's getting reversed on appeal.
This doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of how that goes.
Contracts was not my actual like overall favorite class, but it was just
Yeah.
my 1L year. That
What was
my
yours?
It was actually my trial advocacy practicum
Mm-hmm.
that I did, and it was, and even
That sounds-
online. I did it
that's-
online over Zoom.
That's a mouthful. Can you say trial advocacy
Practicum.
practicum?
So it was with Judge Lee Gabriel,
Okay.
and even
Did you
with
guys
that
go
being-
over the Power V?
I think we
hope
actually
so.
did have a whole class about it.
Did you
She
really?
Full day of
no.
mannerisms.
No. Well, we did.
Nonverbal communication, very
that
important,
class-
Alex. Yes.
Thank
good, good.
Well, kind of. We
Name
really
dropping.
went into stuff like
nonver-
that.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, that was probably one of my favorite classes, and I wish so badly that had been in person. But like I said, even online, actually, that class was great.
Well, if you do criminal law,
That
Yes.
what made me. That's actually, I think, what was part of the beginning solidifier of I'm gonna be a.
you get a lot
Criminal
of you
defense.
get a lot of reps. You get a lot of reps because cases don't settle, right? In
Right.
civil litigation, virtually everything settles, and virtually everything settles in criminal law too. But there are certain instances where the prosecutor is going to go, okay, your client can spend life in prison, and then
And you're
at
like,
that
"No."
point it's like, well, okay, I guess we have really very little to lose here. Do you feel like dying in prison? No. Okay, well, let's have a trial.
Right. It's
So
true.
okay, you may as well go fight it.
I think that was the most practical class. They don't
Uh-huh.
teach that enough in high school. Don't talk to the police. Just, why are you talking to the police? And
It's
I think
amazing.
just knowing my rights and knowing when I can stay silent and when I should stay silent, which is pretty much all the time, and just saying I want my lawyer, things like that. We never had that. What was it called? I think it used to be called social civics or something like that they would
Okay.
teach in high school. They didn't teach that for us when I was in school.
They
So
didn't
I
teach. No, not in Plano, or where did you go?
Well, I went to a little private school here in Dallas, Dallas Lutheran.
Okay, and you went to Baylor. You said for
yeah.
undergraduate. Okay.
Yeah, and I could have used that. Someone could have told me, hey, just don't talk to the cops. Don't.
Well, we
say
go.
Tell everyone that now.
Our firm with Heidi. She we do actually a lot of outreach towards local schools, and because I know that they're not watching this, they what they want is kind of like when they ask us to come and speak, they want like Scared Straight.
Yeah.
Right. They want like, you kids need to.
You're gonna spend your life in prison.
And what they
if
really
you do want
what they really get is put our phone number in your phone
Always say you want your lawyer. Don't talk to
when
the
you're
cops.
driving around and you're up to no
Do
good.
not consent.
That's right. And yeah, don't shut up and don't consent to any searches. And that's kind of what they get. That's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just so good. Yes.
I think
Alex,
that's the most practical.
it yeah. No, it really is. It really is. A topic I wanted to cover too that I found, I don't know, being around other law students when I was in law school, I found the law students to be just a different breed. Friends, enemies, frenemies.
So
Talk about some of the aggressive,
we didn't have that at my school.
passive aggressive people that you know.
They don't grade on the curve at UNT Dallas College of Law.
that's
You're
good.
not really you're not having to jeopardize someone else's grade to make sure your grade is good. So it was very much a camaraderie. Like we're helping each other out the whole time. That first week of 1L year, one of our classmates, Leah Duncan, was amazing. She put together
Name dropping.
Yeah, name dropping. She'll be a big pretty soon. Her and Samaj, I'm pretty sure you'll be hearing their names. But I mean, they put together a GroupMe, text group, and we had all the a main thread, and then every class had its own thread, and we could talk to each other and say, what'd you get on this? Have any questions? You can post them out there. So it was a lot of helping each other. It wasn't the finding notes and stealing them and trashing them and.
Christina, did you start your own study group and exclude people? That's kind of what that was like the fun play when I was in law school.
Absolutely not. Actually, I'll tell you one fun thing that I did hear
Okay.
about. I heard that it still kind of happened, but it has stopped happening at. Talk about aggressive. I never personally experienced this, but I'll say this at OU Law, it was a thing where students would in the library. Go get the books that you needed or whatever, and they would tear out pages so that if another student needed that same page, it wouldn't be there and they couldn't find it. So that's things. I mean, those things are real. Those things really do happen, but I never experienced that. When Josh was talking earlier about how his 1L experience was, I felt that very deep, very personally, because Tulsa was a community. I really felt like it was a community. We had the pit. there's couches down there, you know, there's big tables, and people would just pop up with their food and be like, hey man, what's up? And they're reading. And, you know, I stop and talk to people, and, you know, like I think we all had the idea of we're going to be in the same legal community together. We want to like each other. We want to be friends with each other. We want to be, you know, that camaraderie. And also, yeah, oh my God, like, wow, like this really sucks, or do you know what's going on? Like, I don't know. I have no idea either. Like, that's so important to have. And in our group meets, somebody would just, hey, and then, you know, you're split in sections, and we had our group meets by section. So we all had the same class together. Hey,
When you say, I think I'm understanding what you guys are saying by your group me, but
app.
it's an app.
Okay.
It's a texting app for group social
for groups.
texting.
For
and
groups.
you can have, I mean,
You can invite lots of people.
hundreds
and you
of
have a thread.
people in it. So it's
okay.
very accessible, and it's
You can break out into
user-friendly.
subgroups.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people would be like, hey man, I made this outline, like this, and I'll send it to you in an email. And I got so much of that, and it was very helpful. You know, older students would pass stuff down and be like, hey, let me know if you need anything. And and that was something that I agreed with Josh very much, that I haven't gotten that so much where I am now. And even though we are remote, I wouldn't say that there's any aggression or anything at A&M, but I would say that there's kind of there's more of a, that I've experienced. I'm going to do my own thing.
You're on an island.
Yeah. Like I'm going to do me, because we are in competition, but it's not aggressive. It's never mean. It's never, you know, passive aggressive. It's just, nah, I'm gonna do me and keep to myself.
This is
kind of thing.
disappointing. I was hoping to hear that the traditions that were laid down by generations had been carried on. I'll tell you. Here, try this.
I have one.
Oh,
Are you talking about a story of what people have done?
Well, yeah. Try this.
Okay.
Yeah.
This next year, okay.
Yeah.
In your pit, right? In the or wherever you guys gather.
I don't even know where that would be at A&M, actually, to be honest with you. They don't
You
really, they
can
didn't have it.
throw out
Sure.
the corpus juris secundum. Throw out something just so random that makes everybody else wonder if they've even been to law school. If they're like, oh my God, what does she know
You'll
that I
get that
don't
big
know?
mark rep.
So go ahead, Josh. You were about to hit us with something.
Yeah, well, so I did at my first school. There, you know, we had study groups, and there was a gentleman who was striving to be top of the class, and people knew that he in class understood the material, and they were seeking out his advice in his study groups, only to find out that after finals and everything come out, and he ended up transferring, that he had been purposely telling everyone in his study groups the wrong answers. Like when they would ask him, that he would be giving them the wrong answers on purpose. And apparently he divulged this information to somebody. But
What a jerk.
apparently that this is how you become a U.S. senator, by the way. But
yeah, so he had, of course, now nobody, I won't say his name, but nobody really cares for the guy. I guess they're glad he left. But those are the
Right.
types of things that that people do. And I know from personal experience.
man, that's not very nice. That's just not a nice. That's not a nice person.
I kind of wanted to just add one thing, because I feel very strongly about this. This was something that I realized first semester of my 1L year, in terms of this whole like aggressive towards one another, or passive aggressive, or feeling like you need to tear other people down because you're in competition of them. Again, like I said, I still did feel very communal, but at time I had my, you know, you have your friends, obviously, your really close group of friends, and then you have your classmates who you're so friendly with, of course you're not close with them. At times, and this was me personally, I did get very in my head in terms of like, do I need to see these people as competition? Like, and I think it was just like me like under the pressure of law school, and kind of thinking like that distance of, hey, but at the same time, like, we are fighting for ranks. We are fighting, because the stupid thing about law school is that they only give out a certain number of letter grades. It has nothing, almost in a way, it has nothing to do if you actually deserved that. They can only give out 7 A's, you know, so people know that. And I think that sometimes I got a little bit in my head of wondering whether or not my classmates were truly like people that when I went into my legal community that I would have I would give referrals to, they would give referrals to me. We would be good with one another. But I think that whenever, and it made me kind of distant with them, and that kind of made 1 year a little hard because in a way that was a little isolating. But I think when you finally open up and talk to people, like, again, I mentioned those moments of like, hey, do you know, like, what's going on? Like, you literally whisper to somebody who's sitting next to you in class, like, do you know what's going on? They're like, I have no clue. And that makes you feel better. And so it's more so
until
like,
you find out that they're sandbagging you.
oh my God. I cannot believe that. I've never heard of anything like that. And
See,
that
it was
was
more-
never a thing that happened.
Yeah, it was more my game to be like, yeah,
Right.
you know, yeah, no, I know all that. I mean, that's. Did you not read Football Note 14? I mean,
I think people, well, that's what I'm saying is that I think that some people, it's important to like be honest and like, hey, it's okay if you don't get it. And because, yeah, I think sometimes, and that's what I would do. I'd be like, oh, no, I get it. Because I didn't want to feel like I was worse off than somebody. I was afraid of that. But then when you finally open up and talk to people and I think just be like, we're all in this together and you make that effort to be that way, I think you'll find that you can kind of quell any of that, like, especially really passive aggressive. I think that's the most common thing I've ever seen is just passive aggressive versus just outright aggressive, misleading, whatever you just.
everything you're
Homeboy.
telling me just reconfirms to me that you should never work as a DA if you're ever.
I'll never.
Well, you say it's okay. The benefits are fine. Good dental. You can't. I mean, they pay an outrageous amount under
pension,
the.
right?
What's that?
They have a pension too.
They've got a pension that's going to drive the state into bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah.
You should really take advantage of it.
Oh,
okay.
I've heard all about it over in Collins.
So we're about out of time. Before we go, I want to do one more around the horn. Where do you see yourself in 10 years, Josh? Go.
10 years, hopefully I'll just say happy. Hopefully I'm married with kids and that I am practicing law here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area if that's where God has me. And that I'm just happy, that I'm happy. I'm practicing law in a field that I love and I'm helping people. As cliche as that sounds, that's where I hope. And yeah.
Okay. Christina, 10 years.
10 years, I hope that I'm in Texas, Dallas area, or actually Austin. Definitely doing criminal defense work for sure. Doing work that's also into public policy, stuff like that. I want to help people. I want to be the person that stands up for the people that I think get put down a lot. So
Okay.
that's it.
So you think that I'm going to ask you the same question, and now that you've had a few seconds to think about it,
No, I'm expecting anything.
where's your statue going to be? The
Where's my
Alex
statue?
Roldan statue. Where is that going to? Where are we going to see that? And what are you going to do in 10 years?
It's probably going to be in my backyard. Because that's, I don't know where else I could put it. I'm the only one that's going to make one. Yeah. I don't, it'd have to be front yard or backyard. But I think the HOA would get mad about the front yard.
You know what? You know a good
the
lawyer,
worst.
and that's not a problem. But yeah, 10 years from now.
10 years, hopefully working 9 to 5 in a corporate gig. I know I'm going to have to do some kind of firm life. If I can find my way into a firm at this point. Are you guys hiring? We'll talk later. So
We'll talk later. Yeah.
Talk about networking.
But yeah, I'm just hopefully finding a job, and then eventually I'd like to someday have a 9 to 5 again.
Excellent. Well, this wraps up a most successful hour of the Lawyer Show podcast. I am your lawyer, Jeremy Rosenthal. My guests today, Alex, Christina, Josh. Thank you guys very much for participating, and I think we're going to go have some Chili's.
Awesome.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.